Glad we could get together again. Today I want to talk to you. Last time we talked about Mrs. Dallum, and I have another wonderful story, I think, about Mrs. Dallum. Mrs. Dallum was always very respectful, maybe too much of me. I always thought, Mr. Vineburg, may I please shine your shoes or something. She didn't say that, but that's the kind of relationship we had. She was very respectful. And this one day, she never, yelled or screamed or anything. And one day, one of the second grade teachers, Mrs. Bernstein, came to me and said, one of the children's uncles has monkeys. Oh, and I said, that's nice. And she said, and he wants to bring them to school. I said, I would love the kids to see monkeys. I didn't know what kind of monkeys they were. I didn't even ask. I said, but you must let me know ahead of time so that we can really prepare for them. Okay, she said. And months went by, and I hadn't heard anything about the monkeys. I completely forgot about the monkeys. And this one afternoon, Mrs. Scott says to me, Mr. Vineburg, yes, you better take this call from Mrs. Dallum. She sounds very upset. So I said, yes, Ruth. She said, Vineburg, not Mr. Vineburg, anything. Vineburg, you get yourself down here. There are monkeys running around in the new wing. I don't know what the hell she was talking about. Okay, I'm coming down. Well, you hurry up, and I'm not responsible. I'm not responsible. I thought to myself, maybe she's flipped the lid. I don't know. So I went down to the new wing, and indeed, there were 3 chimpanzees running around the new wing of Oakhurst School. There were 2 girls, and they had dresses on and panties, with the lace layers, that you're supposed to see. And then there was a boy dressed in overalls. And they were running in and out of the first and second grades. And of course, I could hear the children screaming and yelling and having such a good time and clapping. I got down. Ruth was waiting for me. She said, I'm not responsible. I'm not responsible. What happens if they bite somebody? You can't have these animals. Get rid of them. I said, okay, Ruth, calm down. Go into your office, Ruth. And I went into one room, and the male monkey was there, and what he was doing, the children were delighted. He was taking pencils off of their desks, breaking them in half, biting off the end of it, and spitting them at the kid at the desk. Well, the kids thought that was the most wonderful thing they had ever seen, and they were hilarious and clapping. And then I hear, Vineburg, you get yourself into my office. I told you this was going to happen. Oh, God, I thought, now what? So I told, before I went to Ruth, I told the man who brought the monkeys, please, to gather them up and leave. And I'm sorry he didn't call me ahead, because I would have arranged to do something for the children, the 4th and 5th graders, and the 3rd graders upstairs. How often do we have monkeys visiting Oakhurst School? Would have been a wonderful experience. Well, anyhow, he left, and I went into the nurse's office, and there sits Janie Hegarty. Now, the Hegartys were a wonderful family, and I was friendly with Audrey, the mother. They also had a daughter, Audrey, and with Mr. Hegarty, and I had at all times at Oakhurst School. I think there were 4 or 5 children. And Audrey Haggerty was never the president of the Oakhurst PTA. She was always the vice president, and she did a lot of the jobs that nobody else wanted to do. She was wonderful. So here's Janie sitting, and she had been crying, and it seems that the monkey bit Janie on the tip of her finger. So I called Audrey Haggerty, and Richard's giving me signals. I don't know. Is it time? Can I go? May I go on? Okay. So I called Audrey Haggerty, and I'm thinking to myself, how am I going to say to Audrey, Janie was bitten by a monkey? No, she'll think her face. So, meanwhile, Ruth's in the background yelling, Vineburg, you're calling Mrs. Haggerty. I'm not calling Mrs. Haggerty. So I called Audrey, who lived right in back of the school. In fact, there was a pathway that went right by her house through the woods. And I said, Audrey, she says, what's wrong now? And I said, Audrey, what would you say if I told you that Janie's finger was bitten by a monkey? And she said, I would tell you to tell Janie to bite the monkey back. What the hell are you talking about? So then I explained, and I said, I want you to know that the trainer of the monkey says they've had all their shots. He's concerned, has Janie had all of hers? That was a very exciting day at Oakhurst School. Now, one other story about my friend Audrey Haggerty. There was a report by the police that there was some kind of a blue station wagon at Vineburg School, and some of the kids said the man asked them into the station wagon. So all the schools were alerted. The children didn't go, fortunately. And I thought to myself, you know what? Maybe I'll drive around in my car and park where the woods, where you come out of the woods near the Haggertys, to be sure all the children are safe, because out in the open they would be all right, but I worry about that. It's a dense forest, not very big, but it was a lot of trees. So I pulled around before dismissal, and I parked there, and I'm there, and I'm listening to my radio, and the next thing I know, there are squad cars, 3 or 4 of them, with their lights going, and I'm looking around, they're coming right at me. I thought to myself, now what the hell is this? And they get out and they start laughing. It seems that Audrey Haggerty saw a station wagon, a blue station wagon, near the woods, coming where the children passed through, and she did right. She called the police, and I was the culprit, so they thought. Now, it wasn't me. I didn't do that at Vineburg School, but can you imagine? It was quite a time, too. Audrey, if you hear this, I love you. Okay. We'll see you again soon.